Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, Diana. How are you?
I well rested today. Thank you very much.
Good, good. Yeah, Aaron is safe, your son and
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
Yeah,
His wife and the
good.
dog, and he's got a half coyote dog and a black cat named Waldo, because you could never find him.
Waldo. Who's Waldo? I love that. Where's Waldo? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good name for a
yeah,
cat.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So, yeah, there's a lot going on the planet right now. I think we can always say that, but particularly right now.
Yep. You know, well, I like astrology.
I know.
So I've been working with the charts on a daily basis because we've got this big full moon coming up on Monday. And there's the consistency in the sky because there's slow moving planets involved and slow moving asteroids involved. Is that we have the shield of David, the Star of David. It's not just the Merkaba, but there's three mystic rectangles as well. So when you shape the Merkaba, which is the Shakti and Shiva, right? Or
Hmm.
Shiva and Shakti, let's put it that way. Um, it is, oh, here comes the snow. Almost right on cue. It's an hour late.
I love
um,
it.
right? But when you think of that, the energy is above. You have this triangle reaching above, and this is Shiva. And
Mm.
then you have Shakti reaching down, which is the roots. So this one is spirit, and this one is soul. The two are not one and the same. They may have interchangeable parts, but they are not one and the same. They are two different things. So when we have that, we have the Merkaba. But where the points connected, if you think about it's not the wedding pattern, but there is a quilt pattern where you get that crisscross,
Right? Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what it represents, is that. So you get a mystic rectangle through the points from the side, and then when you go this way and this way, you get the mystic rectangles from the top to the bottom and all angles in between, which incorporate the same um, planets that are in the Merkaba themselves. So that is what the whole Shield of David is. And when you use it in your chart, whether it is the transiting planets creating it or you're born with this in your chart, it is to always keep track of your damn ego. Because think of
Check
what
yourself.
happened to David.
Yeah, check yourself, right?
Right, right.
I love that.
Check yourself.
So, do you want to describe that to people, the difference between soul and spirit as you see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. You know, when we think of spirit, it is above. It is what we're reaching for. But
Mm,
when we think of soul, that's what's within us. That's what drives us. That's what convinces us to move along the path. It can talk negatively to us and it can talk positively to us, but it is the inner, the deep, the below, as above, so below.
would you call it the personality of the soul?
Yes, because we are reaching for this. And it's just like I say that in your chart, we always have this one conjunction at a distance, no matter who you are. We
Yeah.
always have the north node and the south node that is in that position. Are you going to fight yourself this whole time? So that is how you find the balance with your spirit, the north node, trying to be the highest form of your human nature. The way forward, the vehicle to drive is your north node. And then the things that you have to let go of in order to do that are the South Node.
Letting
So-
go of ego. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And programs. I just have to mention, Rossi, check yourself before you wreck
Oh, I
yourself.
love that. I'm
That's a
copying.
t-shirt.
I'm going to copy that.
That's for sure a t-shirt, right, Rossi? That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's my problem. There we go.
You
I'm
got
just
it?
looking at, oh my God, I'm all face. Why? Well, because I forgot to turn on the chats.
Oh, yeah. It's and it is interesting. A lot of people right now are talking about standing in our power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
it's the power of the soul, right?
exactly. Because that soul. So I also look at your rising sign. It's the moment that you wake up. It's the moment that you rise, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Get smacked on the butt, you take your first breath and you open your eyes. So if we as human beings are here to be our highest self, look to that rising sign, because that's the person you are when you let your hair down, when you get close to people. You know, the sun sign is a little is your pomp and circumstance when you're just meeting people, or when you're in a friendly environment with them, etc. The things that you do on a regular daily basis just to get through the day, whether it's not argue or whatever. But
Right.
when you're ready to have your primal scream, that's when it's not just the emotions of the moon, but it's the stuff that you're going to do when you feel secure with the people around you or just your environment. So if we're here to be our highest selves, because that's human beings' soul's purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're reaching spiritually. You're
Right.
reaching for that ascendant. Well, the North Node is the vehicle that's going to help you reach that every time you get into trouble, whether it's from transiting planets or your own ego, beating yourself up or beating others up.
Yeah.
Right?
Connecting to the higher self.
Right. And then the automatic is, okay, so now you're going to fight yourself here in the South Node while your North Node struggles to pull that 18-wheeler up the hill on a one-lane highway over old North Loveland Pass in Colorado.
Right? I've been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah, been there, done that. No, man,
Yeah.
those old passes are pretty scary.
Right.
Think about the guys in South America who drive that bus around those things, switchbacks and rocks falling, and it's like,
Oh my God, right? Or Hana
I'm
and
not
on
going
Maui.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Hana, Halaluka. Or
Right? That
yeah,
Mike Douglas and what's her face? Catherine, what's her name?
and Zeta Jones.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
or Mike Douglas in that movie where he's after the Emerald Diamond, way back in the early
Yeah.
80s.
Was that? Oh, that was oh golly,
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner. Yeah. Thank
That
you.
was such a good.
That's right. She's amazing. I love her energy.
I love her
Yeah.
voice still today, man.
Oh, like she smoked a million Marlboros, right?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Refiltered.
That's the good thing about having a cold, you guys, or coming back from one. It's like you sound like you smoked a million. Romancing the Stone, T. Lynn says.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Pall
Thank you,
Malls
T.
or
Lynn.
Lucky Strikes, man.
Oh God.
You know what? My parents used to smoke Herbert Territons, and that was before they had the dual filter. They were cork tip, which means no filter. So there was Lucky Strikes, Pall Malls, Camel, Herbert Territon, and God knows a million others that didn't have a filter on it, including Cools. And I used to sneak the Cools out of my uncle's pack. And my brother would get the Herbert Territons. I would sneak the Cools. We'd go up in the attic and smoke these damn cigarettes. And then styrofoam had been invented, and my brother and I are up there smoking, and we're trying to light the styrofoam on fire.
Oh God. Yeah. Horrible, wasn't it?
How
Right?
stupid can you be?
So Rossi says it's Bolivia's death road.
Oh,
Maybe. Wow, that sounds right. I know I did the desert once at high noon, going out to California and blew out my Fiat engine. White Dragon says, "Well, then I'm a grouch." That's what my wide says. I think my wife. I'm in engineering mode. No extras, no candy coats, just the facts. All business, ma'am.
yeah, Sergeant Friday.
Yeah, you've got
Just the
some
facts,
soft
ma'am.
edges,
Just the
Paul.
facts, ma'am.
Yeah, that's the facts, ma'am. Right. My dad went to DC. He was like an expert witness for something. He was a commodities editor of a paper, small paper. And anyway, went to talk about some trades that had happened or something. And he got to tour the White House and everything. They gave him a pack of cigarettes back then, and it had the presidential seal on it and everything. I remember my sister and I going down in the basement, like after he'd had them for 5 years, trying to light one up. It was sparking. It was going everywhere. It was like brilliant.
That was before they had the Surgeon General seal on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Alice. I see your compliment. Thank you so much.
Hi, Gina. Oh, what did Alice say? I love Alice. Alice,
I'm an
thanks for being
amazing
here.
astrologer.
She
Thank
is
you.
an
I
amazing
needed to hear that.
right? Yeah. So in Jyotish, Eastern astrology, your rising sign is your main sign
Yeah,
that they
right.
work with.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and there is some crossover where like Gemini would still be Gemini in Vedic astrology. But in Vedic astrology, I'm a Taurus. And in Chinese astrology, I'm an ox. Well, hello. And in Western astrology, that's where the sun is in Taurus, but it's shining through Gemini. And so that's why the sun is considered, you're looking through Gemini in order to see it. So that's why in Western astrology, I'm a Gemini. But I also believe that the sign behind is sympathetic to the sign in the middle, as well as the sign ahead being sympathetic, because there's parallels. And in reality, that 30 degrees is a half of a half. A trine is 120, half of that is a sextile, and that's 60, and half of 60 is 30. So there's your bookends. You know, you can you find support and sympathy from the signs on either side of you.
Yeah. And then the signs opposite you, I've heard too.
Yes, because that opposition, who are you going to fight? And opposition is a conjunction at a distance. It's learning how to work within the balance that your rising sign demands.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the ultimate human being we're here to be, or the rising soul, the ascending soul, from grounded to spiritual.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, the way that works, and the balance of it. So let's talk about friction and opposition, because I've heard a lot of people saying right now, and I feel like we're going into an era of friction and opposition. A lot of calamities coming up all around the planet, and that and including like political earth events, all sorts of different things. And that's such a great growth potential, isn't it?
It is, because what is friction doing? Heating things up, right? What does heat do? It combusts, right?
Yeah.
But it is like another thing that actually Deborah Zachow said this to me. It's like, don't let go. Don't rob anybody of their fear, because fear is a good tool. It is a motivator if you use it properly. You know, you can stay there and stand in that fear, or you can take that fear and let it project you forward, which is your own little bit of friction, right?
Yeah, it's like the hormones get going. It's like if you like a lot of people in my family and I have ADD. And so sometimes we wait
What?
until the last minute to get something accomplished. And that's because the endorphins start pulsing through our body, and that's the way our brain works. And then all of a sudden, boom, you got it. So we're not
Anything that
really worried
presents,
about it.
right? Anything
Yeah.
that presents itself as a challenge is your motivator. So fear
Oh,
can be a challenge to get over. There's your motivator. Let it
yeah.
be what projects you. And yes, how many times do you wait till the last minute because the challenge is to get the damn project done? Whether it's reading a book for a book report in school, or getting a chemistry thing done or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or calling somebody back even sometimes, like getting your doctor's visit
Yeah.
scheduled. It's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to have it next week. I think I'll call him today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, hypnicity. Hi,
Confirm.
hypnicity. She says, I decided that neutral is the place to be.
Mm.
100% to look at things with neutrality, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah, with
And it's
witnessing things.
when you put the car in neutral, it might roll down the hill by itself. However, you can push it by yourself too, especially if you're talking about a clutch, etc. Whoops, there it goes.
Yeah, yeah. I just heard, Oprah was having Eckhart on,
Ah,
and they were talking, and it had been like 16 years since they'd been together. And she said, "So, do you think we've made much progress?" And he said, "Well, yes." He said, "We've made progress, and we've gone back as well." He said, "He said, but that's okay because we're supposed to go back. We're supposed to have upsets, and then that's what does cause us to
right.
go forward at a lightning speed."
Well, and we can look at it as, yeah, Oprah has made progress, no doubt about it, and Eckhart has made progress, no doubt about it.
They
But we're the
certainly
regular ones.
are. We though? Are we though?
Well, not this community, that's for sure.
That's a good question. Are gifted people naturally procrastinators?
uh,
Interesting.
I like that question. I
I
would
do
say
too.
yes, because I have talents that I know of, and like I never, like, yeah, it's down to the wire before I actually get it finished. And
I
the
think
challenge comes in somebody. Well, I guess I said it the other day. I make a better second in command than I do a leader, because the challenge is in the translation from what somebody else wants to what another person. How do you bridge that? You know,
mm,
how do I, like the woman who was the director at my job at the school I worked at. She'd have these fabulous ideas, but she didn't know how to engineer them. Well, I just get out a brown paper bag and engineer it for her, and she go, "What a genius!" Like that. That's good. Thank you very much.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It is interesting. We all have our gifts, right? I think a lot of neurodivergent people also have a lot of are gifted, or gifted people are neurodivergent. That genius thing, and I'm not saying I'm a genius. I will say Diana is a genius, and but that there's something a little quirky,
yeah,
and yeah, I like quirky.
I like quirky too. That's where your Aquarius lies. That's where your Uranus lies. That's where you find your quirkiness.
Oh, okay, okay,
Mine
yeah.
has Jupiter in it, and right now Pluto's sitting on it. So,
Watch out, people. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going down. A lot going down.
right.
Um, so we've got, and you were talking about, for some reason when we started talking about this, World War II came into my mind.
Say what came into your mind?
World War II,
Oh,
something we were talking about a minute ago. Just that maybe it's the opposition that's
well,
coming.
the synchronicities of World War II.
Yeah.
The fact that FDR, Mussolini, and Hitler all died in April of 1945. FDR died April 12th, which put him in Aries at the time of his death.
Mhm.
But Mussolini died on the 28th, and Hitler died supposedly on the 30th, because we don't know if he ever really
Yeah.
died or not. So they're in Taurus 2 days apart. And I've been working on those charts. And of course, was directed through my night travels to look at the four fixed stars that astrology uses the most, and then the great attractor, the galactic center, the super galactic center, and the other one that's at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So to stay in that and look at it and compare it to the War of 1812, because that was fought on our shores, and what we are in is world fighting on its shores. And even though during 1812, I mean, it took a long time to formulate, it was like a 10-year process before it actually occurred, which is basically what's been going on here. And when you look at the riffraff on other people's shores, the same thing is going on. And what drug us back over to Europe was France and England, and how they were embroiled against us, etc., back and forth. And when I started looking at that, it made even more sense. So when we go back to that synchronicity of April 1945, Hirohito comes in because he's the mouse that roared. And
Yeah.
the similarities of that movie, the parody of the movie, The Mouse That Roared, and what happened with Hirohito in Japan. You know, we went over there and occupied Japan after the war and wrote the Constitution for them. The USA wrote the Democratic Constitution for Japan. But what we really must remember, and it's important, is that it's we the republic, we the people,
Mhm.
we are a republic, and it's not really a democracy. We are a mixture of philosophies, right? So, you know, so when I look at 1812 and Napoleon and introduce them, we see Napoleon probably giving himself arsenic to end his life because he knows he's got this cancer in his stomach, and dying alone on an island,
Right.
with nothing but his servants around him. And when we look at the other three, I should say four, we look at Hirohito, who was penitent, who came with hat in hand and asked for help, which brings us to the mouse that roared, because that was their whole plan. We're going to go attack New York City with 20 guys. And if you think about Hirohito and the planes, you got 20 soldiers in 10 planes attacking Pearl Harbor, expecting that to do the whole country of America, right? So
Yeah.
when you start looking at these silly little synchronicities in so many ways, the bigger picture is laying right there. So Hirohito, being penitent, lived until 1989. And when he passed, you know, he'd had time to make peace with his own soul and find a rising spirit. When FDR died, the path between Aldebaran, which is the way the soul comes in, it's the silver path, that's 9 degrees of Gemini, and I always want to say Atreus. That's not right. Atreus and Falcor. No, that's a story. It's and Teri's is 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So that's the portal. Well, FDR's passing, he had a direct route into that portal. So he came in on that portal. He was an Aquarius coming in on that portal because it was in his 11th house when he was born, and exited in the Sagittarius. The straight portal was open for him, and he T-boned right into it and rose to the challenge. So many people didn't even know he had polio and that he was crippled all those years that he was in politics. The other two, with their sons in Taurus, didn't have a gateway to get there, did not rise to the T-square the same way FDR did. And so they didn't make it through that exit where the light is. Right?
You know, it's interesting. In the Vedas, they talk about when you leave your body, there's a very sacred time of leaving your body that monks can walk out of their bodies, or anybody in deep meditation. And that is a state of grace, leaving your body like that, where there's no fear. There's just, you're one with your spirit and one with your soul. And you, when you walk out like that, they say that then the next time when you walk into your body, the next lifetime, if you choose to, you remember. It's like you walk in a state of grace, and it's a completely different type of lifetime. The ego, I think, completely different connection.
You know, I am not the only person who can relate to that. And I know what my most recent last life was and how quickly I came back afterwards.
Wow.
And because it was an Auschwitz passing. And I was like a 13-year-old girl. So I came back with a better grip on my warrior spirit, but certainly still a girl. You know?
Certainly.
I'm just a girl.
White Dragon says, Teri, I once asked Yogananda what happened after he died, and he showed me. It was an awesome experience. I can only imagine.
Yogananda, I bet.
Yeah, I love Yogananda. Yeah, fascinating, excellent knowledge, Diana. Thank you. Hypnicity asks if you can see the Akashic records of Jimmy Carter. I feel like Jimmy Carter kind of came in kind of similar with these portals, didn't he? Or did he?
Well,
Show up in his...
not really looked at his chart, and I'm, you know, he's not, well, he was not of this earth to begin with.
Right.
You know, you can just get that sense. It's like he stayed on purpose till the day he said, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was present. His mother was the midwife who delivered his wife, and he was present at the birth. He watched his wife be born. Now, how much synchronicity? Don't need anybody to hit you in the head with that one. This
Maybe
was,
I do.
right? Were they Shiva and Shakti?
Right? Yeah. Hypnicity says she thinks he was a knight at the round table.
I believe that.
Love that. Hey, Jeff. Yeah. Rush says totally. Yeah. Totally. I can see that. There's so many people here from the time of Merlin and the lakes, right?
Right. So many of us have this connection with each other through that as well. In this community, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. Hypnicity. Absolutely.
100%. Viviani. Yeah. Sonia.
Yep. White Dragon.
Yeah. Jeff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Rush.
It's just like everybody.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Sonia. How many times have I seen you there, babe?
Yeah, it is really beautiful. There she goes. She might be back, you guys. She's got a big snowstorm coming. So we're not quite sure what's going on, but there she is.
I had to blow my nose, sorry.
Oh,
And it's
that's okay.
loud in Polish. Or shall I say Polish, because nobody knows how to spell the difference between. Well, there's an old Hamtramck joke. Spell
Oh, yeah.
Polish.
P-O-I, no, P-O-L-I-S-H,
No,
right?
spell Polish.
P-O-L-I-C-S-H, yeah?
Yeah, so see, you don't know the difference between shit and shinola.
I love that. We've got a really nice Polish area in Kansas City, and it's in KCK, Kansas City, Kansas, and it's a really old neighborhood. It's hilly, and they still got like lots of great restaurants and clubs there, little clubs you can walk into, and everybody's still doing, the bingo and oh yeah, the chicken dance, all that. And so anyway, but it's really fun. But I don't know where I was going to. Oh yeah, it's just the energy around it. There's St. John's Catholic Church. And they have a Black Madonna in there, and it's one of the few in North America. It's so beautiful.
Our Lady of Czestochowa.
Is that who it is? Okay.
Yes, it's Our Lady of Czestochowa. She was rescued. There's a scar. This statue was rescued out of, can't remember what church in Poland that had caught on fire, and they had rescued it. And of course, then the wood was charred, but this was long, long ago, right? Yeah. But the Black Madonna is it's got nothing to do with race, right? It is right. What that is protecting. It is the energy of that void, that come and find your faith and soul here. You are scarred, we are scarred. Things of that nature, but it's Our Lady of Czestochowa in Polish. That's what it would be called.
Interesting. Then when I was in San Miguel, it's at the parish of San Miguel, and there, and Archangel Michael's church, and there is a Black Jesus, who they had hidden for years. I think he's from the 16 or 1700s. It's a UNESCO site. And now they've brought him back around, but he's beautiful.
Well, because they're the ones putting race at an issue,
right?
Color depicting race. What is, we're all pink on the inside. That's the point.
Yeah. Oh, Carl, interesting. Carl says that John Benny was Arthur, King Arthur.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm. I could see that. There's also, we've got the collective consciousness. So a lot of people come in and they're Queen Victoria, or they're Columbus, perhaps, or somebody, and then we realize that we can all tap into that creative or that collective consciousness and pull out the energy and the lesson in the Akashic records of that lifetime, and apply it to what we're working on in this lifetime. At least that's what I believe.
Oh, I agree, because, well, I suppose we could have all had a crack at it. If how many times do you go back to a time zone, right? It's an orb, so it's circular, and your soul is here to experience, and for each of us, it's an individual molecule that takes its turn, right?
Right. Yeah. And with the quantum field, then we can all be somebody somewhere, can't we?
Right.
Somebody somewhere. That's the next T-shirt.
Sounds like or at least a rock tune if it doesn't get printed. My son, one of my sons, my oldest son, works for Paul Reed Smith Guitars.
I love it.
I love it too. So,
whoa, that is so cool.
They just sent me this one. I've got a big, heavy one. They just sent me this one, and they just sent me a T-shirt also that has a picture of the Paul, and it looks like he's part of the deck of cards, of tarot cards. but there is no 24 card, right? And this is, and it is Roman numeral XXIV, and then the Paul instead of the Hierophant or the death card or the devil. And he's sitting on a chair with skulls, and behind him is the bridge. Now, my daughter-in-law just told me that, well, there were 50 pictures hand drawn by people who submitted their things for a contest that was going on for last year. And I said, well, I'm looking at that bridge and I'm wondering if this was to honor the collapsed Bay Bridge, because Paul Reed Smith is in Maryland and that's the only place that they make their guitars. And so Nick and Christina moved back to Maryland because he got a job with them.
Wow.
So they're living in Annapolis, which has a bridge of its own. But, you know, is this the Bay Bridge collapsed, which means you can't go that way? And was that saying Paul Reed Smith in Maryland forever? You know, so now I've got this whole artist concept going on. And Christina goes, I'll have to leave that to Nick. He'll have to answer that question for you. He's at work. So.
That's really interesting. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ness says, Linda Kennedy, thank you for that lovely reading on Tuesday. You hit on children's book energy, reframed my thinking of my writing project. So profound. Okay. That's, I love that, Ness and Linda. I can see Linda doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Was I there, or was I just in? Was that, what day was it? Because either I was in the chat. I remember that whole thing going on. I just can't remember if I was in the chat or on the show.
Wow. Yeah. Right. Yeah. As far as I know, King Arthur was ascended Master Mora. Is he also connected to Saint Germain? King Arthur, or is that somebody else?
Merlin, I mean, do Merlin.
Yeah.
Because
Saint Germain.
Merlin coming back
right.
this time is Saint Germain.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
But you know, Arthur, everybody has their downfall if you're not careful, and that includes us. We have these reminders of
Atlantis, Lemuria. Yeah. Yeah, looking at that. Somebody had an article recently in talking about Merlin being back in Atlantis and bringing his group, his disciples, away from there before it fell. And I think going to Asia, and that was the beginning of Tibet.
I can see that.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, pretty close to that, I think.
The recipe of Tibet, the Buddha, sitting in suspended animation for 200 years and then coming back to life when he feels like it.
Yeah.
You know, we have no proof that Yeshua actually died. In fact, there's a lot of conversation about the recipe.
Yeah.
That definitely. He was given these things. Well, Joseph of Arimathea, in my way of thinking and through my studies, I believe that Joseph of Arimathea came back to be Merlin. And then came back to be Nostradamus, and then came back as Saint Germain, because Saint Germain ate the recipe. He would never let people see him eat, yet he showed up every 50 years after people thought he was already dead. And he looked like he'd never aged.
That's interesting. So there's that mudra that we do, you guys, when we do the senses, and we go into that in meditation, and you press the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth as far back as you can go. And then a lot of monks even clip that little underside of your tongue to go back even farther. And they say this is how people do this without eating. And it releases nirvana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Nectar. Universal nectar. So Anyway, interesting conversation, which we knew it would be.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
right.
and that's not what we were talking about. And here we go.
And here, I knew that would happen, though.
Wind me up.
Oh, Garnet's here. He's going to Wales.
Ooh, Garnet.
Wow. Garnet, I love that. Yeah, you saw
Yes.
it, Gina. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, in UK, planted a thorn at Glastonbury. Yes, and that is from the staff of Joseph of Arimathea.
So that's where the ring, Glastonbury. Yeah.
Remember when
Stonehenge.
I had the dream and we were all there? Alice
Yeah.
was there and Rossi was there and everybody was lined up for the 5 pips ceremony. And that was, we were on the hill where that tree still grows, the hawthorn.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Deanna. Hi, Deanne. She says, some suck on a rock when fasting. Rocks are so spiritual, Deanne. I agree. It's like just amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Jesus was in the UK. Joseph was his cousin. Wow. Yeah. They say he traveled all over, and the Marys were there with him as part of his disciples, and they had their own books, Mary Magdalene and Mary the Mother. Yeah.
Joseph of Arimathea or Joseph of the many-colored dreamcoat? Because Joseph of Arimathea is Mary Magdalene's uncle.
Oh.
And also, okay, so he was a tinsmith and merchant, and he sailed all around. So he had trade routes of his own. So for him to take, because he knows the recipe, and be able to give the medication to Yeshua at the time of the crucifixion, and then go back and get the body and get him out of there and get Mary Magdalene in the boat, what's hiding in the sack in the 6 of Swords? And France is very convinced that Mary Magdalene and Sarah and another little boy and Yeshua finished out their days in France.
Oh.
And I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
Just through my own downloads and reading Josephus, who is not the same as Joseph of Arimathea. He is a historian that lived a couple hundred years later, who kept track, who kept taking the written words of the scrolls and putting them into the language of his era. So he's the historian that's trusted the most. And through all of that, I can see and I believe that that's exactly what happened. And since Joseph of Arimathea was so well traveled, he was able to get them out and would have had the recipe as part of his, give me that and I'll trade you this.
Yeah, I'll take some of that.
Yeah. So his being a tin merchant and of course knowing the craft, the alchemy involved in all of that, he had a deeper understanding and he was very wealthy.
Yeah.
And the other through the Knights Templar, the belief is that Mary Magdalene was first married to the first predictive savior, which was John the Baptist. And that's where the son comes in, that the son is older than Sarah, and that is that Yeshua married her because John and him were cousins. So he married her to take care of her, but there was love.
Yeah.
And another part of the story that we can add just as, give this some food for thought is the church just takes Joseph, the earthly father of Yeshua, and writes him out. They bring him in as an old man and then they write him out as an old man. But we know that that's not true. And if Yeshua died, then was Joseph of Arimathea actually the Joseph, father of Yeshua? as well, bringing that whole family together under that relationship.
Wow.
Food
It's a
for
lot.
thought, right?
Yeah, it's a lot to put away.
Yeah, right?
Garnet says Jesus was taught in the Great Pyramid.
Mhm.
I believe all
The
things
bat.
are possible in this. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
because the pyramid and the space beneath the pyramid, the space beneath the Sphinx.
for
Yeah.
sure. And there's too much written word left behind in Tibet
Mhm.
about Yeshua being there.
Yeah.
It can't be denied. The
Yeah.
missing years of Jesus from 12 to when he's 33, age 12 to 33, where was he? Studying
Right.
in the temple all that time? No.
Yeah.
He journeyed out on his own. Because
Yeah.
if he had been studying in the temple all that time, there'd be written word about that. And there's nothing found.
You know, my mom always said if they ever open the vaults in the Vatican, right? Yeah, and we know that, all of us. That,
Let me in.
Deepak went in there. They let him in.
Mhm.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything about it, but he did say he did get in.
Yeah. They pricked his finger, said, "Wear on this with your blood."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Hypnicity's asking, who was the prodigal son?
Probably one of my brothers.
Or me?
Well, since he's a parable, it's hard to put a name to him because they don't have names in the story, and it's used as a parable.
Wow. White Dragon says, Teri, based on a remote view by Heather of the Crone Zone, that space is a galactic spaceport. I'm sure it is a portal. I'm sure it is. There's many, many portals. Yeah, Hypnicity, your brother would like to be the prodigal son. Oh, Denise, you have a great day, honey. I hope you feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody sees Jane L today, give her lots of love. Her brother passed away.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about that. I need to email her. Viviani. Yeah, Viviani says Denise made blush yesterday. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so everything going on the planet right now. Let's get down to that. Garnet says the prodigal son has returned. That's quite interesting. So I was told in a vision, it was probably the late 90s or the very early aughts, that he has been born again in the desert. And they definitely made me feel like it was Yeshua, or somebody of his standing, Moses or someone. But someone very important was coming to us, and it was going to be a male in this lifetime, or have male energy.
Mhm.
Well, I'll put it that way, because it's, it's pretty fluid right now. But so I do feel like somebody's coming. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree. Human nature, we have a codependency on each other, and it isn't always a negative.
Right. Yeah.
And I think so many of us realize that we make a better second in command than we do leaders. Right? Because it's a collective. When it works the best, it's several opinions coming in to find the proper balance in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So to me, yes, there is this, for lack of a better word, let's say redeemer, who is going to give us as individuals the support we need to remain united, to stick together like snowflakes falling like they are right now, and piling up on the most delicate twig and branch in the bare trees up there, looking like Chantilly lace, and not falling off. But the little bit of moisture and the little bit of cold creating this pillow that you can kick apart because it's not frozen. It's just sticking together.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we stick together, especially us who are light workers.
Yeah. Yeah, Deanne says that someone coming can be anywhere in the world and where we all meet and know that one.
Well,
Yeah, and it could be us. It could be our combination of light workers coming together. I do feel like there's going to be a young person coming in, like David Hogg, for instance. I'm not saying it's him, but it has his energy. Like he will be part of this group. And I feel like a lot of the kids that are born right now are born knowing. You know, we talked about leaving on that level where you're walking out of your body with joy in your heart. Oh yeah, it could be that one. That's what we were going to talk about. You
That's
guys.
what we were going to talk about, but it could very well be him.
It could be him coming back.
Another blue-eyed guy, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Another blue-eyed guy, Tom Petty. Another strange-looking guy, Todd Rundgren.
Oh yeah, right?
Right.
Yeah, David Bowie and Paul Rundgren.
David Bowie.
Oh, so E.T. So E.T.
Yes. Somebody who embodies that deep connection with their divine feminine as well as the deep connection of the divine masculine. We really need to have both of those in each one of us in order to understand the energies, when to turn which one on and off, when to let them work together, and how to understand those who don't embody or don't embrace the fact that we have both of those energies inside of us, right? And I'm somewhat familiar with this book, but it just arrived, and so I have to go through it first before we can talk about Elvis and his blue light love, blue star love. But he was very mystical. He was, who was it this morning said holy roller?
He was talking about the holy rollers.
Was that Paul Freed?
It might have been Paul.
Paul, or was it?
I think it was Paul. It was Paul that he's going to be with his auntie.
Right.
On the ship, on the cruise. Yeah.
Well, we can all use a holy roller right now. We definitely all need a holy roller. And that's basically the kind of religion he grew up with. But he's about Edgar Cayce and aliens coming in back in the 50s, and so many people have it wrong about what he was about and how many. Here we go. So think about how Hollywood is burning. Think about my dream that was reinforced but now confused because of what Paul had, White Dragon Paul had said to me the morning after the remote view that I had. And in this remote view, I see old celluloid film melt. This is what it looked like in the remote view. And I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to tell me? And then there was all this military braid and all this other stuff in the remote view. And I kept equating it to all the star work I had been doing for the shows with Marina. And so when that text was there from Paul, he said that I had been upgraded to a 5-star general. And I'm like, I just got done telling everybody on the dream show I make a better second in command than I do a leader. But then yesterday I had to drive down to the city, and on the trip I'm getting downloads, and it dawned on me, the city of stars, the film industry, hit a big light bulb and burned up.
Yeah.
It's all gone. But besides that, the number 5, I had the remote view at 2:00 in the morning on the 3rd. And Paul later that morning had sent me a text message. I got it like 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. A fire broke out on January 8th. That's 5 days, 5 stars, 5 days to the Star
Oh.
City. Because what do they call it? Studio City is burned.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah. It's so sad out there. Our hearts go out to everybody there.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Allie. Allie's here, Heart and Soul Connected.
Yay, yay, yay. Hello, darling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Allie, I got a book for you. It's Elvis.
Yeah. Pandora's box is spilling her secrets, right? Yeah. Paul says, Diana, when I told you, I was not intending to say that, but it just came out. Right?
Because we are also connected, Paul. It is synchronicity, this whole thing. I mean, it is synchronicity to think that this is the end of an era, which was the first message I was getting from that remote view. They're burning up the film. So I'm just taking it literally, because how many World War II movies are there? 1,000. And they're still recapping them. They're still remaking them. They're still making more. So there's all of that. But then look at the bigger picture, no pun intended. And now we've got the film coming into play. The whole city went up in smoke. So this was also a premonition, vision, remote view. Yeah. And there was no sleep involved. This was not a lucid dream. This was not my first remote view, but this was definitely a remote view because I was very conscious. The dogs were aware of it. And I was aware of them. So,
wow. Yeah. Gray asks, Diana, what do you think about come on in on Taurus at 9 Sagittarius? I think it must be 9 degrees Sagittarius. Isn't there supposed to be some evil attached to it? I'm not sure why.
That's the exit portal for life. Life exits that portal. It comes in through the silver portal, which is 9 degrees of Gemini. And in reality, they're the only two that are in a direct opposition. We have 0 degrees of Virgo for why can't I think of that? For one fixed star, and then Regulus is at 4 degrees of Pisces. Now that's another axis, Virgo Pisces. So think about in the next day or two, we're going to have the nodes move from the Libra Aries axis into this Virgo Pisces axis. Now we're talking. Now we're gonna see the light returning because that 4 degree Pisces axis is the light, which is why they believe that Yeshua is actually a Pisces and not a Capricorn. But we don't know for sure because there wasn't a true record kept, right?
Yeah.
That time.
Right.
Herod saw to that.
Yeah.
With his destruction.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So some people think that dark holes are evil. I really see them as, a beautiful place to travel.
It's a quick route. It's like the shortcut.
Yeah, supersonic, quantum leap.
That's it's not this vacuum. It's like the galactics, the super galactic center is at 2 degrees of Libra, and they keep thinking, okay, we're going to get sucked into it. It's like 100,000 galaxies pulled into one, and that it has such a dense gravitational pull that Earth is going to get sucked into it. No, because the universe is ever expanding. So as the universe expands, it may stay at the same degree, but the expanse between the 2 degrees gets bigger too. It's like watching the fires, the Sunset Fire, and my kid living 5 miles away from there, from downtown Hollywood. So, okay, it's 5 miles, but that fire was creeping 3 miles away from his house, from his
Yeah.
apartment. But eventually they got it contained where it is now. And it's like, okay, we're back to 5 miles between him and the fire. And it's fairly controlled, but the winds are kicking up, so lots of blessings that it stops.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of blessings to everybody out there, you guys. Yeah. Right, Gina? Yeah. Wormholes, especially.
Right. Yes.
Definitely.
And see, Alice thinks that is under the impression that Yeshua was a Cancer. He's all encompassing. Exactly. And Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorn. Compassionate, where Capricorn is more Saturn. So who's right? The church created a calendar that's not actually true. It wasn't the year 0 when Yeshua was born. It was the year 4 BC. So he had, he was, we didn't start the Anno Domini until after we knew who he was, or till power came in and started putting dates to things with the Gregorian calendar, because before that it was the pagan calendar, and now he's trying to fit both of these worlds together so that the Catholic Church can make converts by giving them a holiday to replace the holiday they've been celebrating, which is, that's pagan. There's no God involved. Yes, there are. There's all the gods of the universe involved. Which, by the way, was another story written by men for men. There were no women involved in what they were saying.
Right. Yeah.
And everything ended with Saturn. So, Saturn ruled the last signs of he ruled Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Yeah.
Until the other planets were discovered.
Yeah. This is a good question, and then we'll get going. Hypnicity asks, how do you fit Vedic in with this?
Well, it like I said a little earlier, and it might be before you got here, Vedic is done in a rectangle. Mm-hmm. Because in reality, there's 13 moons. There's 13 houses, right? And we do it in a clock face, so we use 12 as our base, and with 30 degrees for each one. There's a discrepancy in the degrees because there is a 13th. So when you look through the Vedic, the sun is actually in the sign that Vedic says it's in, but it is shining through to Earth, and we're looking at it like I'm a Gemini sun, but we're looking at Taurus through Gemini, or the sun's in Taurus shining through to Earth through Gemini. So that is why that's what you see first. That's the window. Okay. It's like the easiest way to think of it.
Yeah.
So,
they also, yeah.
The window's dirty. You can't see Taurus. But, right? So Vedic, my birthday would make me a Taurus in Vedic, makes me a Gemini in Western, but I'm an ox in Chinese. So that makes sense. And what I had said earlier also is that the sign behind and the sign ahead is sympathetic to the sign in the middle. And sometimes the sign in the middle becomes the sign behind or the sign ahead. So there is that still continuous flow.
Yeah.
Because time has no dimension. It's not linear. It's an orb.
Oh.
It's an arc.
Yeah. Hypnicity says it's that why 13 is considered unlucky by so many.
I think there's a story that Christ was the 13th apostle, and you know what they did to him.
Yeah.
So that's part of why 13 is unlucky, but you can look it up in pagan records and it's something else as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's also, it's interesting to look at the different calendars, like the Mayan calendar and the Gregorian calendar.
Well, in the Mayan calendar, it uses a base 24 where we use a base 12.
Yeah.
So it is a constant rotation with that too. And it's thrilling to watch because it makes total sense. It really does.
It does, right? right, Diana or Linda? Diana's brilliance amazes us. Yeah.
Oh,
So much stored and shared. Thank you so much. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Oh, 5-5. Wow.
It's
Amazing.
blushing and crying at the same time here.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my
I-
gosh. Well, time flies when we're just chatting away.
I know, right? Yeah, this was amazing. Yeah, Diana does have so much knowledge. I know.
I love that. 12 tribes of Israel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are you doing next? I know you're always doing something fun.
This weekend, I hope to finish throwing clothes away and hope to clean my art studio because that's like the upstairs basement. I don't have to carry things down the stairs. I can just throw it in there and hide it from everybody.
Right? Yeah.
And
I hear
right
you.
now, it still has crap all over the floor from having friends over to work on altered journals for Halloween, which was how many months ago?
That's okay. It doesn't count. Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Halloween
But
doesn't count.
orange pipe cleaners come in handy no matter what season.
That's right. That's right. You can always use a pipe cleaner. Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for being here, Allie. Big kisses.
Yeah.
Big kisses to everybody out there, and everybody stay safe.
Yes.
So,
Yes, Rossi, you got that right too. Another Friday the 13th that was the day that they attacked the Templars and killed them off. So, yeah.
so sad. So sad. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Bye.